Hey everybody, you're looking at it, the first of what will be many iPhone X clones this year. This is the VIVO V9. So let's start with the unboxing first. So you look at the back of the device, check out specs. You have a 24 megapixel camera, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage. So let's pop open that box. So right here you have probably papers and a case, I'm guessing. Yep, you have a soft plastic case. Not much in there. That's a label. So let's take out the phone. Okay, let's put it to the side. And then you see right there you have a US China plug. Also Japan uses that same leg. And then you have a USB. Oh wait, that's a US micro USB, not USB-C. That's a little bit disappointing that this phone does not use USB-C. And you have some stock head earphones. So now let's get to my favorite part, peel. Oh, there's nothing to peel, so I just slid out the phone and then that's it. Feels really good in the hand, very light. I believe it weighs 180 grams, which is really light. No, 150 grams, I just checked the fact sheet, sorry. So it's power on the device. So slap on the case, it actually fits very nicely and the case gives the phone quite a lot of grip. Although the back of the phone is grippy too, because it's kind of, I don't know if this is glass or plastic, but it's a little grippy. I like the texture too on the back with the Vivo logo. It's a nice feeling phone, just a really bad fingerprint magnet though. So now that the display's fired up, so you see the bezels at the top and the sides are really slim, probably slimmer than the iPhone X. And the bottom bezel, there's a little bit of bezel, but it's not that bad at all. This is a very immersive looking phone. Anyway, I'm gonna play around with the phone for a bit and I'll be back. Hey everybody, I'm back. I played with the VIVO V9 all day yesterday and all night. So my very first impression is this screen is awesome. I really like having a screen this big and a body this small. So to give you an example, this phone, it's about the same size as the Huawei Mate 10 Pro, except the display is a little bit bigger at 6.3 inch compared to the Huawei Mate 10 Pro's 6 inch. This phone is also a little bit shorter than the Samsung Galaxy S9 and about the same width across, but again it has a slightly bigger screen. This just seems like a really good screen size for me, 6.3 inch, but the phone feels good. I can grip it very easily one-handed, and look, my thumb even can reach all the way across, so one-hand typing hasn't been an issue. So there are rumors that Apple's actually, the next iPhone they're making, there's going to be a big version with a screen around the size. If that's the case, I'm all for it. Please do it, Apple, because I actually find the iPhone X screen a little bit too small. Like maybe I'm getting old, but when I open up Safari, I find the text sometimes a little bit hard for me to read because the screen's a little bit cramped. And unfortunately, because Apple is kind of stupid like this sometimes, you cannot make the font bigger unless you make the font of the entire phone bigger. Like there's no setting in Safari to just increase the font size in Safari, which is stupid because you can do this in Android. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. This phone, yes, it is obviously meant to kind of be a clone or knockoff, whatever you want to call it, inspired by from the iPhone X. And it's a little bit shameless, to be honest, because it's not just the notch. Like everybody's doing the notch this year other than Samsung, so it is what it is. But the fact that they even use the same wallpaper, even the boxes, the VIVO V9's box it looks just like the iPhone X's box. So I don't know why they couldn't choose a completely different wallpaper on the box and all that to look a little bit different. And then also the swiping gestures Vivo has. So let me explain. Vivo actually introduced swiping gestures on Android last year with the VIVO V7 Plus before iPhone X introduced it. But then Vivo changed it up now to more resemble an iPhone. So you notice that there's little bars down at the bottom, just like the iPhone X. The iOS, there's a bar down at the bottom. So this is to let you swipe up to go home. Now again, Vivo began doing this last year, but when Vivo did it last year, there were no bars. These bars were definitely inspired by iOS. But having said that, I really like navigating around Android like this. It's better than pressing traditional buttons, which feels a little bit outdated now in 2018. So I'm going to show you an example of how it works. So we'll go into a photo really quick. So basically, these three will act like the traditional Android buttons, but instead you swipe on them. So you swipe back to go back, or you swipe up here in the middle to go home. And then right here, Actually, this is not an overview button because Vivo, that's how Vivo phones are. This is to bring up the quick settings, which is again taken from the older iPhones. So how do you bring up recent apps overview then? You swipe up and hold. See, so this gesture is completely copied from the iPhone 10 because the last Vivo phones didn't have this at all. And then one more feature that it's a copy, but I like it a lot. You can switch between apps by swiping left and right on the bottom. It's really awesome. That's how you switch apps on the iPhone 10. So it's not as fast as traditional Android, just double tapping the square button, but I like it. You can switch between multiple apps at once. And now by default out of the box, when you swipe down from Vivo software, which is called Fun Touch, you bring up this search screen instead of the notification shade. So again, I don't really like that. This is another iOS feature that was knocked off. You have to swipe from the top to bring down a notification shade. And unlike the other phone, the Oukitel U18, you can actually swipe down from the notch too and still bring down notification shade. So that means Vivo at least optimized the software a little bit to account for that notch. This phone, let's talk specs. Snapdragon 626, so that's a mid-tier processor with 4 gigs of RAM and either 64 or 128 gigs of internal storage. So the back of the phone, this material right here, I don't quite know what this is. I have to ask Vivo. It feels a little bit plasticky, but I'm tempted to say it might be glass. It feels really light in the hand though. It feels really good. In hand, there's a subtle design trait right here, like 2 dots. Right here, and then it says designed by Vivo. So I don't know what these 2 dots are meant to do, but a little bit of a cool texture feedback. So sometimes when I'm picking up the phone, I know that this is the bottom of the phone because the camera bump, it's not that big. Definitely thinner than the iPhone 10's camera bump. So the star of the show for this phone is definitely the screen, and I'm loving it so far. I've been using it, reading web pages and opening Google Maps. I like when you open Google Maps, it actually fills up the entire screen. That's a very cool illusion. Even though a lot of apps don't take advantage of the notch, and there's a little bit of dead space down at the bottom of the screen because Vivo insists on having these buttons here. So you are able to turn off these bars in settings, but even if you turn them off, that little dead space is still there. So it's a little bit annoying. So check this out. You can turn off the bar to change to dots or just empty. So we'll go with empty. So even if you go empty though, and you open an app like Facebook or Instagram, there's still a little bit. Wait, why is Facebook loading so slow? Let's open up Instagram. Facebook is terrible, man. Have you read the news recently about them? So you see there's still a little bit of dead space right here that other phones that let you go full screen, like on the Huawei Mate 10 Pro, would just fill up. And then same when you watch an Instagram story. The story does not fill up to the top of the notch. So you see there's a noticeable, so right here there's a little bezel right here. That's a digital bezel. And then up here too, the image does not fill up the notch, which is the same thing on the iPhone 10. And it kind of bugs me because the point of watching Instagram story to me is to fill up the entire screen. And when you watch Instagram stories on the LG V30 or Huawei Mate 10 Pro or Samsung Galaxy S9, it actually fills up the entire screen. It's just a little bit more immersive in my opinion. I mean, it's complete nitpicking on my end. So other than the screen, Vivo's advertising a lot of AI features with this phone, but unfortunately, I think it's one of those broad definition of AI that Asus is also adopting with its Zenfone 5, meaning the AI here really it's nothing new. It's stuff that other phones have done, Vivo has done before, but now they've just chosen to add AI to it. For example, there's supposedly like an AI beautification mode, which Vivo claims that it has scanned millions of faces so it can identify face shape and add like, you know, the correct makeup filter on it to make your skin better. But from my experience, the beauty mode, it's about the same as all the other Chinese phones I've used, which is not bad. It actually makes a pretty strong difference in skin tone. I can see why some females or some guys might like using it for selfie. And then another feature they call AR sticker, which is right here. Again, the usage of the term AR, augmented reality, it's a little bit loose here because all it is stickers that go on to your subject, kind of like Instagram filters, or the Samsung Galaxy phones has had it since last year. This doesn't really require AR as much. Vivo also claims that the AI will help improve the phone because it will help allocate resources. Again, this is nothing new. Every smartphone since probably 2014 has been doing that, but I'll take Vivo's word for it because battery life on this phone is really damn good. The battery inside is only 3260 milliamp, which isn't huge, but I used this phone all day yesterday and I still came back home at like midnight with like 45% battery life. So battery life on this phone, it's excellent. So much like previous Vivo phones, the selfie camera megapixel count on this is insane. You have a 24 megapixel front firing camera, so which means, oh see, so you have AR emoji running right now. Not AR emoji, AR sticker, sorry. So 24 megapixel camera. That's a little bit much for me because I'm not a good looking dude. Maybe if I was a model, I would like having my face blown up that much. But for me, I'm never gonna really need 24 megapixel picture of my own face, but it's useful to have it. And it doesn't take up that big of the notch. So on the back, you have a 16 megapixel and a 5 megapixel secondary camera, and it's a real secondary lens. I tried taking bokeh shots with it. They turned out pretty solid. Not as good as like the bokeh shots taken with the Samsung Galaxy S9 or obviously like the iPhone 10, but it does look pretty nice. It does identify the subject in the foreground and then blur the background accordingly, and you can actually adjust the level of bokeh after the shot by swiping up and down here, which is pretty useful. That's a feature that Huawei innovated first about 2 years ago with the P9. So otherwise, the camera quality, it's solid. I wouldn't say it's amazing. It definitely can compare to some of the phones I have on me already, such as the iPhone 10 or the Samsung Galaxy S9. But I'm not sure if that's exactly a fair comparison, considering that this phone, there is no pricing available for the VIVO V9 yet, but I'm pretty sure it won't be anywhere close to what Samsung or Apple is selling their phones. Those phones go for like $800, $900, $1,000 US. So this phone, no pricing yet, but I'm guessing it'll be the $400 to $500 range, which puts it in mid-tier pricing. So if you consider that, I think photo quality, solid actually. Low light performance, it's surprisingly good, although again, it pales in comparison to the Samsung Galaxy S9, especially this shot right here. So this is taken in a dark alley in Hong Kong. Now let's look at the same shot on the Samsung Galaxy S9. It's a lot brighter, much more detailed, right? But let's not compare to the S9 anymore. If you just look at VIVO V9's photos in a vacuum, they look very good. Definitely Instagram worthy. You can put it on Facebook and no one will really complain. I think dynamic range is quite strong too. Shutter speed is relatively fast, and you have a lot of shooting modes to play from, including a bunch of different filters right here. And up here you have settings, slow motion, ultra HD, time lapse, and settings to shoot timers. And so yes, because of the notch, when you watch YouTube videos, it defaults to this letterboxed version of the video, but you are able to fill out the whole screen, which chops off a little bit off the top and bottom, and the notch digs into the video. But it's not that big of a deal because this notch is a little bit smaller than the iPhone X's notch, so it doesn't bother me that much actually. So there's only a single fine speaker from the bottom right here that it's very easily muted. Alright, you all know I gotta do my K-pop video test just to test the sound. So 50% volume right here. Let's fill out the video. So you see, I don't think the notch gets in the way that much. That's 50. So there's about 90% right here. So speaker gets quite loud and not bad for a single fine speaker. You can mute it very easily, but there's actually a little bit of bass. It's not as flat as some of the phones I've tested with single speaker. This single speaker setup, it's about as good as a single speaker can get, in my opinion. I think it sounds really good. I mean, this video looks pretty damn good too. So Vivo software, as mentioned, it's kind of like an iOS ripoff. but I don't mind it. I think it looks okay. I don't dislike it, although there is quite a lot of bloat. So you see, like Vivo.com, Lazada. These are apps that just comes with this phone, like Vivo App Store, all of that you can't get rid of. So they're just there. But the software is okay still. You get a little bit of gestures, which I like a lot. Oh, but the problem is you can't search in settings, which is very annoying because a lot of times I'm looking for something and I'm just scrolling up and down. It doesn't help that this menu is very confusing. I'm just used to every other phone you can search for what you need. Right now I'm looking for gestures. I can just type gestures in all the other phones, but here I have to manually search for it, and we'll see how long it takes me actually, just to show you how annoying this could be. Smart motion. Okay, that's not it. That's not what I'm looking for, but you see you do have stuff like tilt the phone to zoom into pictures, which is a little bit gimmicky. I don't advise using that. Maybe go into more settings. Nope, that's not it. You see how annoying this is? I can't find gestures right now to show you because this phone, Vivo, did not give you the option to search. Oh, I legit can't find it. I definitely came across it earlier. Maybe one-handed? Nope, that's not it. Okay, so I found it. I made a mistake. It actually was in smart motion, but you see how buried deep in there that is? And it took me 5 minutes to find this because there's no search setting. There's no search option in settings. You see how dumb that is, Vivo? I could have found this in 2 seconds if you let me search, because that's exactly what I was looking for. So you can draw alphabets to launch stuff. So that's pretty cool. So we'll try draw F to launch Facebook. Yep, and it goes launch Facebook. So you saw earlier that I actually tried to scan my face. That's because this phone does indeed have face unlock. And good news, it is very fast, almost as fast as the OnePlus 5T. It makes sense because Vivo, Oppo, and OnePlus are all owned by the same company. So this is the same tech as the OnePlus 5T's face unlock. So I'm gonna do it right now. See, so it's a little bit slower than the OnePlus 5T. It's not immediate, but it's definitely under half a second. Fingerprint reader on the back is fast too. You can use both at the same time. So if you're interested in benchmarks, for some reason I was unable to run Geekbench 4 on this phone. I think maybe because it's too new. Geekbench servers couldn't pick up the device. But I ran PCMark and it scored a 4,934 in Work 2.0 performance. So that's very admirable, completely serviceable for a phone that would likely be in the $400-$500 range. I'm assuming. I'm not sure exactly how much this phone is, which makes it very tough to kind of judge whether this phone should be purchased or not, because we know that the OnePlus 6 will probably look just like this, except it will have better software, because OnePlus has the best software in all of Android, in my opinion. So that phone's probably coming in May, so that's not that far from now, and that phone will probably go for like 500-ish. So this phone has to be a little bit cheaper for it to be worthwhile, because the OnePlus 6 is gonna have Snapdragon 845 too. So if you factor that, 845 versus 626 and better software on the OnePlus 6, this phone will need to be a little bit cheaper than that to be worth it. Unless you really want the phone right now and you don't want to wait till May, then this is a good option for someone who likes that all-screen look and just an awesome screen-to-body ratio without sacrificing for a larger form factor. This phone is easier to hold than the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, and it has the same screen, and it's a lot easier to hold. I cannot reach the other end of the screen like this with the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. So I am a little bit disappointed that Vivo didn't implement that under the screen fingerprint reader that, you know, the company has already pioneered. But I understand that that tech may be reserved for flagships. You know, maybe it's a bit expensive to implement into a phone that is not meant to be a really expensive premium device. But I'm really liking this phone. I'm going to be taking this with me to New York to mess around. I'm going to New York, by the way, to check out Huawei and Xiaomi's new phones. So stay tuned to my channel. I will have more on those two phones in about 4 or 5 days. Thanks for watching.